Hello and welcome to another video. This is Always Retro81, and hopefully in this video I am not going to be hooting and hollering. I've changed the volume much, as much good as it actually has done. I've changed the volume settings on this before I record, because a lot of these games I've been recording, in terms of what I can hear versus what is actually getting recorded, the two have a lot of difference between them, so hopefully nobody's been getting too blasted by my mic, because in real time I can't quite hear what I'm saying. Anyhow, so this is Strikers 1945, and I can already see that despite the fact that I've fiddled around with the volume control and I've set it down as far as it'll go without losing the sound completely, I'm not going to be able to hear what I'm saying here, which is a pain in the neck. It's just to do with these city connection ports. Their volume controls are basically no sound, or so much that you're unable to hear anything. I mean, if we just look at it, sound settings, as you can see, I've got them way down, and I still can't. Oh, come off it. So there you go, that's one black spot against these that are otherwise pretty good ports. But anyway, welcome to another video. This is Strikers 1945. In its PlayStation 2 form, this is probably my second favourite vertical 2D shooter. I'm still getting the hang of the PC version. The aspect ratio is slightly different. I'm not as good with the keyboard controls as I would be on the PlayStation 2, but without further ado, let's whack a credit in and get going. As per usual, I'm going to set it on monkey, because then I can talk to you. It's still quite a difficult game on the lowest difficulty setting, as with most of these shooters. I know there are lots of like god level players out there on these games, but I'm not one of them. I'm not bad at these kind of games, but I'm not like, do it all through on the hardest difficulty setting and be like, oh, that game was a bit easy on Steam or whatever. So without further ado, let's get rolling. So I normally play as the 0 or the P51, so let's take the P51 and get rolling. So this is the first game in the Strikers 1945 series, which has a kind of like alternate history kind of setting. I always quite like those kind of concepts. They're interesting to me as somebody who I studied history at college. And it's kind of interesting to see those kind of like what if settings. I think the basic theory of the Strikers 1945 series, as far as I can make out, because there's never anything explaining the storyline, is that in the middle of World War II we get attacked by aliens, and everybody ends up teaming up to take the aliens down instead of fighting with each other, which is an interesting setting. And then that carries on into Strikers 1945-3, which is kind of current day. But definitely the weakest of the series. I mean, it's one of my oldest videos, the Strikers 1945-3 gameplay vid. I still think that's a wildly imbalanced, overly difficult game that's not actually a lot of fun to play, whereas these are pretty damn enjoyable. I've always got a bit of time to play the Strikers 1945 1 or 2. I think they're great games. And it's nice to have them in a full vertical aspect, even though I'm still getting used to the sort of slight difference in the aspect ratio. Aspect ratio and everything. I do find also, for some reason, on this PC port, it's incredibly easy to fly into something you thought you were safe from. The bullets seem to have slightly larger collision boxes than their actual sprites, which is a little bit irksome when you're trying to duck through a curtain of gunfire, but it's not too bad. It's just a little bit disorienting. I've still yet to get used to it, because the PlayStation 2 ports of the two games are very accurate in terms of like your ability to get around things. So I don't know whether that's result of you know, having to mash this onto an HD screen for the PC port. But it's very workable around, you know. It's just something I noticed, that it's the kind of thing where it's like, you know, when these are effectively remasters, and there's always that thing when you're playing a remaster of a game that you've had for donkey's years, and you know inside out. You notice these little things. It's like, I can't get my head around R-type dimensions, and it's not because R-type dimensions is bad, it's because I've played so much of the original R-type that the collision detection just feels inherently wrong to me on dimensions. But I don't think it would bother anybody who wasn't right into the arcade version already. I've always had a thing with R-Type anyway. For home play, I prefer the Master System version. That's kind of like my version of R-Type when I want to sit down and play some R-Type. That or R-Type Final on the PS2. So this is a pretty straightforward shooter. You've just got standard fire. You've got your drones that kind of just stick with you, stick with you like in any game that's got drones. Each plane has different drones, different bombs, etc. For the sake of argument, we'll just chuck a bomb on this guy when he gets hittable. And the bombs in this also helpfully like void any bullets that are on screen. So, oh god, trying to talk and play these kind of games at the same time is pretty tall order sometimes. It's weird, this game doesn't really change anything aside from the collision detection issues that I've mentioned and the aspect ratio. There's a bit more space horizontally to move around one way or another on the play. Oh, there we go. Don't know how long we've been playing, but we'll whack another credit in and play as a different ship. So the aspect ratio is... that's how I feel. I got destroyed, yo. So let's have a go at the 0 instead. That's normally my other weapon of choice. The trouble with the 0 though is, although the 0 is currently the only ship I've been able to 1 credit run the whole game with on this version, it's got a very short range drone attack, and as you can see the drones kind of track you rather than following you straight on the side like they do with the Mustang. But we'll just play through, like, you know, the first 3 stages we get on this with the 0, because otherwise we'll run over time. I know I'm always not very animated when I'm playing shooters, but it's quite a complicated process trying to play and talk at the same time with these high intensity games. So I hope these videos are interesting. There's not really much chance to really, you know, lark around quite so much with the shooters, but at the same time they're pretty good videos to do sort of quick short blast videos on. So it's a good way to get something out on the channel even if I've not got lots of time to set up something major. Seem to be getting the same order here. It's a bit of, oh no, maybe not, I don't know. Maybe wasn't paying so much attention. But yeah, so I'm still getting my head around the PC port of this. It's really nice to have the high def pixel art. That's always a plus for me. I'm a big pixel graphics guy, so it's really nice to see all the artwork in its original form, in, like, you know, well, not in like in sort of proper definition, but not in that horrible sort of flash drawn over style that a lot of, like the Streets of Rage 4 style. I mean, I quite like the look of Streets of Rage 4, but I feel like really it should have been in pixel art, not in that sort of flash style. Because aside from anything else, like things like arcade style games that mimicking things that would have been originally pixel art, if they've got all those sort of smoothed out lines and such, like sometimes it can be pretty difficult to judge when and where you can attack and you know, distances and stuff like that. It's just a personal thing, but I do find that. But this looks beautiful on the PC port, and the sound quality is really nice. I mean, I wouldn't say this is one of my favourite soundtracks for games. It's one thing I will say, although I do really like them about the Psycho games, is that often the soundtracks are a bit, you know, they're a bit kind of just there, like the music. Because obviously, like, you know, a lot of shooters are well known for their soundtracks, but with the Psycho games, for me, it's much more of like a gameplay thing that I enjoy them so much. I find they're a lot more accessible and balanced than things like the Konami series and a lot of the Cave games and 18, Rising. I think that's still Raising. I'm not sure never sure how you pronounce that, but Battle Garaga, and as much as I really like it, and it's definitely in my top 10. Bat Rider. Bat Rider can get really crazy really quickly and just sort of gob you straight over if you're not careful. And sometimes if you are being careful, whereas these Psycho games, for the most part, they're pretty balanced, and they don't go crazy with the rank ups or anything like that. And there's nothing you can do that will automatically make them way harder than they were just by doing well. You know, there's no ranking that goes like, oh, you're doing really well at this game, so we're going to make the game 3 times harder and screw you, which is what like a lot of the Konami and Rising games do. I mean, you practically have to have a PhD to play Battle Garaga and finish it in 1 credit, because it's such a complicated process managing your rank. Where this, you know, everything's shooting, like, you know, everything's got the same patterns every time, so you just have to learn where things are going to be over time. And you know, it's not like and it's not so difficult that it's full rote memory that you have to know exactly what's going to happen every time. It gives you enough space to sort of react and behave, which is what I really want when I'm playing one of these games. You know, I don't want to be faffing around trying to, you know, memorize exactly what pattern is what when you're at rank this or rank that, or, you know, I mean, the Rising games, for instance, like, you have to actually suicide at various points so that you've got like enough life stock to get an extra life. Like, you have to do that in Bat Rider, and it's very difficult to figure out how to time it. But yeah, so we'll call it a day on this, but thank you very much for watching the video. I hope it was interesting, and I hope you enjoyed seeing another game, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Many thanks, and peace out.